All right, welcome to the daily market recap for Tuesday, August 26th. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the action today of the indexes, liquid leaders, industry ETFs, then end the video with long and short setups like we do with every daily recap. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want my market takes throughout the trading day, along with a live stream at the market open, you can sign up for the Discord using the link below. Overall, really solid day today. We have NVIDIA's earnings tomorrow after the close, so I wasn't really expecting any super strong action in the market before that. But the action that we got was relatively bullish. Jumping to the NASDAQ first, we had a little undercut of the 20-day moving average and yesterday's low. Instead of falling apart going into that earnings, we reversed there, reclaimed the 20-day, reclaimed the 5 and the 10, closed at the high of the day, up 0.4%. Really like the action today overall. The S&P 500, similar, undercut yesterday's low and the 5-day, but closed right at all-time highs. That shows you the rotation that we've been getting from mega cap tech stocks to the rest of the market recently. Another thing that highlights that rotation is IWO, which is the growth stocks of the Russell 2000. Small gap up today, opened right near the low, closed right near the high, into that resistance gap in Friday's close, up 1.04%. And overall, just a really, really good looking chart. And ARKK, another great looking chart that looks ready for higher. We had a quick shakeout of the 50-day moving average and support gap on August 20th. Rocketed back through the key moving averages on Friday through the 5, the 10, the 20, and then two really tight days. I'm guessing tomorrow's action is going to be relatively tight as well as we wait for NVIDIA's earnings. But this is a quality base. And if we break out on NVIDIA's earnings, I could see this continuing to go higher. And other good news, IBIT, which is used to track Bitcoin, found a bid right at the previous breakout point. So uh, while we did have ugly action taking out the previous highs, and we've just basically sold off since then, it is nice to see a bid where you would expect some support. I don't think overall the chart still looks great. We would need kind of a rally through the key moving averages, a higher low, and then a pivot to go on. But it's better to find a bid than to just continue to slice through any supportive areas. Going into the leaders list, you're going to see a lot of tight action as well. ALAB, semiconductor name, good open on the low, closed back over the 5 and the 10-day moving averages, and that HVC from its own earnings, up 2.5% today. Uber, I was hoping this would sell off a little bit more so we could get an undercut of the gap zone and the 10-day EMA as a potential buy point. Didn't quite get there, but awesome reversal. Closed back over the 5-day moving average, up 1.5% today. BE, new all-time high, new closing high as well, just drifting above that 5-day EMA. Really, the buy point on this one was the undercut of the 10-day moving average and support gap on August 20th. It's up about 20% from that point, just a monster stock. And NVIDIA, the king of the market, good action today, higher highs and higher lows, closed near the high of the day, up 1%. And I really do like the consolidation that we've seen overall coming into the earnings. The stock's not too extended to the upside. It's not at a spot where if it breaks down, you could see a bunch of selling. We've just seen nice consolidation with the 20-day EMA catching up there. Robinhood, another name that I was kind of thinking would start to break down today because we made new highs, but then we didn't really push at those new highs. We saw distribution, then we got right back up to that area, saw more distribution. Big sell off on the 20th, but a shakeout of the support gap low, ripped right back up and has consolidated well. Today, I was coming into the day thinking, okay, this is a lower high. We're gapping down slightly, taking out yesterday's low is a potential short. And we got through that, but immediately reversed, reclaimed the low, then the 20, then the 10-day EMA, and closed well. So the Bears had their chance to really press this lower, and they did not take advantage of it. Now this looks pretty good to head higher as long as NVIDIA doesn't fool the market. Reddit, another really good looking chart. Finished the day basically flat, but was one of the few names that gapped up on earnings and then has been accumulated since. From there, we did have two gap downs, but a test of the 20-day, bounce there, little uppercut and fail at the resistance gap, and now we have a nice pivot to work with. SOFI down 2% today, but on lighter volume. than average, and then the last couple days still above the 5-day moving average as well. So whenever you get a red candle close over the 5-day EMA on light volume, I don't think of it as anything bad. I think it's just needed consolidation. FUTU, same exact theme, low volume, pullback day above the 5-day moving average, not doing anything wrong. Really good looking chart there. MP is the only chart on the leaders list where I'm not like too concerned about this, but it wasn't ideal action today. We did see ideal action on the undercut of the 20-day EMA and support gap on the 21st. That was really your buy point if you're trying to get back into this name. Then we had the push on Monday back through the 5 and the 10-day moving average, but a reversal right at that resistance gap. We uppercut it, failed the resistance gap high and the HVC level from its earnings. Closed at the low of the day back under the 5 and 10, down 3.5%, but I still don't see anything like super wrong with this chart. I think it just needs more time to consolidate. A test of the 20-day, like a higher low test of the 20-day, that's a potential buy spot. Getting into the industry ETFs, the BLOK ETF is extremely strong, actually. And with Bitcoin's weakness, I would have expected this to go lower, but it seems like some of these names are starting to kind of branch off from what crypto does. And it's obviously acting just super well. Back over the key moving averages, things are tightening up nice, and you have another pivot to go off of right around that 59.80 area. IGV software still continues to act a little bit weak. MDB reported after the market closed and is up, I think, 23% last time I checked. So hopefully that'll get this started again, but still above, or sorry, still below the 5-day moving average. You got the 5, the 10, the 20, the 50, all in the wrong order if you wanted to be long, and the 50 is starting to roll over here. So really needs to break out of this kind of like downtrend and start to work on the right side of the base here. Home builders, really quality action, extremely light volume, pulling back into the 5-day moving average and kind of the breakout retest here. Don't think anything is wrong with that theme. KWeb, Chinese internet ETF, same thing, just consolidating right at breakout highs. Nothing wrong there. Another group, XBI Biotech ETF, which I have a position in LABU. It was nice to see the bounce back today, back through the 10-day and the 5-day moving average. Did so on lighter volume than yesterday's sell-off, so I'm still a little wary about it, but so far we've just kind of pulled back into like a breakout retest. Didn't even pull back to the 20-day yet, so trying to stick with the position, let it work. And then financial XLF, awesome gap down, open on the low, close on the high, new closing high, and new all-time high. If financials are working well, I mean, that's just another reason to be bullish. And then really like the one theme that I don't have any exposure in, and I'm really trying to be patient for a pullback to build exposure, whether that happens or not, is MSOS, the cannabis ETF. Huge move off the low from $2 up to $5, pulled in the 10-day EMA and has resumed its uptrend. We'll see if we can get a pullback to get situated in here. And I guess just jumping into the long setups, this is one of the long setups that I'm watching, looking for an undercut of that gap zone. Ideally, we pull into the 10-day EMA in this like kind of breakout retest at 485. That would be a spot where I would look to build into the position. Stop would be kind of the low of this bar if I can manage it. If I try to put on larger size, then I have to tighten up my stop with it overall. But I really feel like this is a theme that's like set to explode. So trying to weasel in there. Robinhood, the rest will just go from market, not market cap, average dollar volume. So most liquid to least liquid. Robinhood, like I said, I was kind of bearish on this setup coming into the day, but bears had their chance. They didn't reverse, or they couldn't hold when the stock reversed, and we closed well. So through today's high is buyable. Stop at today's low, and then I wouldn't be putting on too much exposure like going into NVIDIA's earnings, but that is a spot that I would watch. If we could get like a big up bar and then you can hold a little bit overnight. If you don't have any traction going into the end of the day, I would probably just cut that trade. Reddit, same kind of thinking. We had the shake after the 20-day, had the shake up on the resistance gap. Now we're super tight through here. So just through the kind of previous highs, 221.60 area, that's viable versus the 20-day moving average. Um, and ideally, we get some traction before NVIDIA's earnings. Uber kind of touched on this. Just want to wait for the pullback into the 10-day moving average and gap zone. Uber's a name that I've always traded better on a pullback versus on strength, so don't need to rush the process here. Plenty of names to trade on strength if I wanted to do that. So pulling into that 10-day moving average and gap zone is the spot to watch. DoorDash, I need to actually lower this a little bit. Um, Good close today, back over the resistance gap. We had a small resistance gap through this level. But we shook out whoa, sorry, my monitor kind of went blue there. Shook out the 50-day moving average, big wick here, a lot of people shaking out. Then we got nice and tight on the 50-day, rallied into the 20 and the 10-day moving average. Now just looking for a higher low test of that 50-day moving average and support gap zone as a potential entry point. APLD, I talked about how I don't want to trade Uber on strength. I want to trade it on weakness. APLD is a name that I'm fine with trading on strength. Although the best buy point was, of course, an undercut of a support gap right into the 20-day moving average on August 20th. Didn't quite get to the 20-day, but really nice shakeout there. Rallied back up, and now we're tightening right at highs. This is a name that it can move very explosively from $3 up to 14, consolidates. Now it's back to 16. And overall, just kind of blue skies ahead. So a takeout of today's high is viable. Because this is a little bit wedged up here, I would be using it as a performance booster. So trying to get my stop to break even as quickly as possible. Similar idea with AFRM. This might be too close to earnings for some people. And for me to hold the entire position, it's definitely too close. But if we can get a gap up tomorrow, this is one of the better looking charts in the market in my eye. A gap up takeout of today's high is viable versus the 5-day EMA and like the gap down, or sorry, the gap ups low here. AFRM does have earnings on Thursday after the close, so we would only have 2 trading days of potential moves before going into that event. So if that's too close, just skip it. Celsius, watching this gap zone for a potential pullback buy. Similar to Reddit, one of the very few stocks that gapped up on earnings, then continued to be aggressively accumulated from $50 up to 62. What is that, a 24% rally from that earnings? Now just looking for a pullback into the gap zone around 57.40 as a potential entry. Stop would be the 20-day EMA there. FUTU, just looking for a pullback back into the breakout, retest the 10-day moving average. Gap zones don't mean nearly as much on stocks that trade on other exchanges. I probably should not even have it drawn on FUTU, but what I'm really looking at is the price structure here. You got the 10-day, you got the breakout retest. The shakeout on earnings was awesome, awesome buy point on the 20-day. So now looking to add to my position at that area. RBRK looked like it was going to get going here, then had a pretty ugly close back under the 5, the 10, the 20, and the 50-day moving averages. One thing that I'll note here is you see it a lot of times where if you get a very ugly close followed by a gap up, buying that opening range break versus that ugly closes low of the day tends to give you some really good risk reward setups. So I know this setup's not going to be for everyone, completely fine. But one of the names that I'm really looking at tomorrow is if we get a gap up, which I think we will be because MDB is up so much. Opening range break versus today's low. Because if we take out today's low after what is a lower high and a failure at the 50-day moving average, chances are this does like really rotate to the downside and you'll get stopped out very, very quickly. And the setup will need a lot more time. But if we do get a gap up that holds and starts to rally, this is a higher low, the first higher low in the structure. And a lot of people who probably got stopped out today will have to rebuy it back later, adding buying pressure and buying fuel after you're already nicely situated in the name. AAOI, another name that I'm really excited for, but staying patient on. We got similar to the Tesla idea. We have weeks and weeks of contraction here. We got the 200-day, the 50-day, along with the 5, the 10, the 20. So from this contraction comes expansion in one direction or the other. I really like the action on the 20th where we tried to make our first move through the 200-day, rolled over, undercut the support gap. And instead of accelerating lower, it was a higher low overall, came right back through. Don't want to buy this on strength because we see selling come into this resistance gap 3 times now, but a undercut of the gap up from today, the 50-day moving average, and ideally kind of like pulling into the 200-day right at $24 would be the buy point. And then my stop would be like the 10-day moving average, 10 and 20-day moving averages. But this is a name that really hasn't gotten going yet, um, but has awesome contraction here. So if the market is going to continue to the upside, this is like a new name that is on no one's radar that will have a really nice risk reward spot. PGY, similar to the APLD and AFRM setups, where it's tightening up above the 5-day moving average right at highs. This is definitely one that you can just take on strength through today's high. Stop for me would be just below the lows the last couple days. Maybe give it to the 10-day moving average, but if I'm trying to buy something on strength, I want to get my stop to break even as quickly as possible because usually when you buy on strength, you have to give it a little bit more wiggle room. So once we get some traction on any like breakout that starts to work, I want to tighten up that risk. Talked about MSOS, looking at the pullback into the 10-day and gap zone. And then MXTR, same with PGY, APLD, and AFRM. This is a name zooming out, has been putting in a multi-year base from 2022 till now. So about a 3.5-year base already through that area. We retested the HVC from its own earnings, where it was up 42%, closed near the high of the day. We have not given up much since. So just through today's high, stop at today's low as a performance boosting trade. And then 10 short setups. First one, we'll go MSTR. I do have a position in MSTZ, which is like the inverse uh, inverse ETF on this. I have it from a lot higher, so I'm just kind of waiting to add on to it. One key spot is the 200-day, the 10-day, and this resistance gap right around like 359-ish. I kind of think because this started to show relative strength compared to Bitcoin before Bitcoin like found a bid off the low. If Bitcoin does rally for a couple days, I really think the best spot to watch is the 20-day moving average and gap zone at 373. So if we like immediately uppercut and fail at the 10-day and the resistance gap, I'll probably add a little bit to my short, but with a tight stop on that piece. And then if we can get all the way up to the 20-day and gap zone at 373 and kind of like a previous low, that's a spot where I would look to size back up. BMNR and SBET, I think you could have these as long setups, just like you can have them as short setups because they're so contracted at this point. We're going to see massive, massive moves in these in one direction or the other. We've had some relative weakness as Ethereum pulled back, but today Ethereum was really strong. BMNR still weak, only up 1%. So I put this on the short watch list, like as through today's low as potential short. But if you say this is an awesome long setup and I'm going to take it through today's high, stop at today's low, I think that's a sweet trade as well because it's so compact. It's such a fast mover that you're going to be able to get multiples of your risk in whichever direction you choose. Just make sure that you trade it with a stop. SBET, same thing, like just really tight action, a little bit stronger today, up 4% off that 50-day moving average, but does have the gap down yesterday. This, like both of these, I would want to take on weakness if I'm shorting, on strength if I'm buying them. CRWV, this is kind of a forgotten name, was one of the leaders in the market through kind of June, topped at 184, fell all the way to 100, down whatever that would be 70%, 65%. Rallied from 100 back to 150 and then gap down on earnings. And from that point has sold off. Now we've gotten really tight here. I think a similar could break to the upside, could break to the downside. But because this has been showing relative weakness, and we're in the 5-day moving average. We have two uppercut and fails of resistance gaps here. This is just one where through today's low is potential short, stop would be today's high. HIMS, good action today, up, what was it, 5.5%. And because we had some good action, we've been consolidating here. The 10-day in gap zone potentially is a short spot, but I'd rather short on an extension to the upside and as it comes back into like a previous low, which aligns with the gap zone and the 20-day moving average. So that 48.25-ish area is the spot that I'm really watching here. SEZL, SEZL, another name that was a leader in the market, rallied from 25 up to almost $200, 183, sold off, lower high, and then just completely fell apart on earnings. It was down 34%. Really hasn't bounced much since. Just sitting on the 5-day moving average. Another one where if you take it through today's high long, stop at today's low. You want to trade it for a bounce back, I think that's fine. But through today's low, stop at today's high, as I think this is more likely to test the 200-day moving average down at 77. INOD, more of a speculative name that has been falling apart. We had the big move right before earnings, then massive gap down. Um, Ending the day down 18%, kind of similar with HIMS too, where it gapped down, rallied intraday, wasn't as strong as HIMS, where it actually went green on the day, but rallied back through the moving averages and then fell apart, trapping even more buyers higher. When you do that, you just create more selling pressure on the way down, which we've seen so far. A couple more upper wicks. This is one just through today's low, stop at today's high, and the 10-day moving average. DFDV, another kind of speculative name that just has not caught a bid. Lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, big gap down, consolidation here. Through yesterday's low would be my entry on this, and then through today's high would be my stop. GRRR, another kind of speculative name that it hasn't gotten going yet. Doesn't mean it can't. Like, look at RR, which was showing some relative weakness for a long time, bumped into the 200-day and then got going today. So that could be the fate for GRRR. But overall, just a lot of random high volatility action around the 200-day moving average. Nothing clean here. The only bonus is we did undercut and rally at a support gap down at 1575, but really not awesome action since then. Through today's low, stop at the 200-day moving average would be the trade here. Then last we have ZEPP. I was a little cautious to put this on the list because I honestly think it looks pretty good here. But similar to NEGG, which we saw that, I'll bring that chart up. We saw that stock go from like $2 up to 130 and then pulled back from the low, uppercut a resistance gap, traded in that area for a little bit, and just trapped even more retailers before just completely falling apart. This is already down 50%, like 130 to 67. And that's how like some of these names go. Once they top, they rally back up, you trap even more people, and then selling just takes control. So with ZEPP, we've had two uppercuts of that resistance gap. Coming back into that area, you can short it there, and that's fine if you make sure you use a stop because I mean this name has also gone from $2 up to $40, so it could be the next one that goes to 130. Um, I would rather short this on weakness, like have it come up, uppercut the resistance gap, and then start to fall apart, like lose the daily VWAP, go green to red, something like that, as a potential short versus the high of the day. But we're starting to see some churning here. Doesn't mean that the run's over, though. It could just be consolidating. But I don't love how it has uppercut and failed this resistance gap a couple times, made new highs, but couldn't close above it. Feels like we're churning here with volume picking up without any price appreciation, which, like I said, with NEGG marked the top. So we'll see on that one. So that's going to be the market recap for Tuesday, August 26th. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. And if you want my market takes throughout the trading day, along with the live stream at the market open, you can sign up for the Discord in the pinned comment. Have a great rest of your night. We'll see you tomorrow, and good luck, NVIDIA.